Saymendy Lloyd, and she is a neuro-transformational coach, CNTC. She was educated as a social worker. Activist Saymendy Lloyd later became a neuro-transformational coach, her most profound passion. She has furthered the foundation of humanity globally, a mindset from childhood, a drive from community betterment blazed the trail for a deep commitment to social empowerment, public service, and human rights activism. Her method sets no limits on the population groups to be served and is practical in various settings. She has over 17 years of experiences, and her services extend way beyond the headquarters in metropolitan D.C. area. Saymendy is an activist, coach, trainer, author, seminar leader who uses originality and humanity to enlarge people's view and motivate them to aim radiantly. Her territory of coaching expands in areas, and she does not shy away in most areas that most people or most coaches shy away from. She is fearless, vivacious, stern, but caring. Saymendy is fervent about the path of coaching and the transformation it brings. She's committed to helping individuals find positive changes with the help of her unique coaching skills. She is masterful in aiding in the art of stretching one's strengths. Her area of coaching includes, but are not limited to, personal development and management, trauma association with absence and loss, salvaging and maintaining relationships, parenting, incarceration, restorative communication, rehabilitation, youth friendship, and she has exceptional experience, training, and gifts that earned her the ability to address both the personal and professional challenges in the lives of those she serves. Serving over 300 people each week, she impacts groups and individuals through coaching and other services. She remains humble and grateful to God and her families for helping her attain this height. Saymendy has received many awards and recognitions, and we're going to talk about one she just received, yet she remains humble and devoted to the least, the last, the lost, and the forgotten, while transforming the lives of those she serves in an atmosphere of dignity and respect. Saymendy Lloyd, welcome to the microphones of the Reading Circle with Marc Medley. How are you this morning?
I am fine, and thank you so much for having me, and my regards to the listening audience. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. So, okay, let's start off with, first off, what is a neuro-transformational coach?
And I will put it simply, a neurotransformational coach is one who works with people, not just from the suffix, but going deep into depth from where that problem started from. And most of the time, situations happen on the surface, but it affects our heart and it affects our minds. And so you find that which the root of the problem that has led to it becoming something that, you know, your subconscious mind takes and holds and carries you, and you are being carried and you live by that which your subconscious mind has put in there. And so we work as neurotransformational coach, just to make it simpler, to work with you in order to reach out in that mind into the cognitive area and help you to take it from there and renew and start a transformation that will bring you to who you really are, not who you are being.
And what drove you into that area? How did you become interested in it? Because I see in the bio it said it was a passion. So how did you get into that area and into that field?
As stated in my bio, I am a social worker and also a servant. And so while working in the community, volunteering in the community, and I became a life coach. When I became a life coach, I started to work primarily with women who were homeless, young girls who were pregnant, working with those incarcerated, the families of those incarcerated, working with women with domestic violence. And there was something that connected all of those people. And it was what happened in childhood, what was said to them, who they became because who they were being by the stigma that were put on them. And so they believe all those things. They believe the abuse they were receiving. They believe that they were nothing. They believe they were fat. They believe they were dumb. They believe that they were from a mother that was incarcerated or a father that was incarcerated, so they were bound to be incarcerated because they came from juvenile hall or they came from, what one would call a low income or from the ghetto, that they too will always be within the ghetto because, you're no good. This man left you. You have children. No one wants you. So all of those things that made them to become, or because of who they were, used them to stay where they were. I then decided to just be a life coach. Yes, I was serving them to be a social worker. I was serving them to just be a servant in the community and helping. That was good, but I wanted to go down to the root of the problem. And in order for me to be able to help to transform them, I had to go somewhere, and that was into the minds.
Now, that's interesting in terms of what you're saying, the belief system, particularly if you're a child of a parent who is incarcerated, that you actually now believe that because your parent is incarcerated or in jail, that you're going to be nothing.
Yes.
So in terms of that, I mean, because and mental health is like the topic of the day now, particularly over the last year or so, a couple of years, especially since we've been dealing with the pandemic. In my view, mental health has been exacerbated because of everything, all the stress and everything that we've been dealing with as a part of the virus. Matter of fact, in my mind, I think mental illness ought to be one of the underlying conditions, just like all the other conditions that they've diagnosed as a part of COVID. I really think that this virus has brought on, for many people, or brought out mental illness. So I'm quite sure that what you're doing right now is extremely needed. And I know you have your Women's Wing org, and we're going to work our way into talking about that and your publications. And I know we talked a couple of minutes before going on the air about being nominated into the Hall of Fame. But have you seen over the last, particularly since we've been dealing with this virus, an uptick in number of folks that want to come see you or that you need to see?
Oh, my God. You said something earlier. You said, I think that mental health has a lot to do with all of this. It's not thinking, it is. And, as a Christian, I would say God does everything for a reason. Mental health is the reason of incarceration. Mental health is the reason for domestic violence and the reason why one will accept domestic violence. Mental health is the reason for homelessness, and there are some people who are homeless who want to be homeless. I'm talking about those who, you may lose your home and can't find a place to stay, so you stay in the street for some time. But there are some people who just more comfortable. You will put them into housing and they will run right back on the street. Mental health has a lot to do with that. Mental health also has a lot to do with the way that we carry ourselves and the things that we do that lead us into the things that happen to us. Mental health is the key. And, thank God for COVID. And please don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I'm happy that COVID came and it affected us and the negative aspect of COVID. I want us to look at the positive aspect of COVID. And while COVID has destroyed, has changed lives, COVID has also transformed us because it has brought light.
Yeah, you're right.
That we have had for centuries of years that have not been tapped into, and that's mental health.
No, you're absolutely right. And I heard you bring up, and I'm a Christian as well, because this is the trap that I feel that many Christians fall into. And don't get me wrong, we know God can do anything, and we know strongholds can be broken by prayer. But in many instances, when you have somebody dealing with mental health in the church, many times it will be just, we're going to pray over you and not recommend professional help.
Yes. Same as domestic violence. The pastor will say, come on, let's pray, and we can, do some counsel. We'll talk to you, talk to the husband, and then you'll go your way.
Correct.
And no help.
And so
to the man and no help to the woman.
Correct. And see, I'm looking at your list here. You have personal development and management, trauma associated with absence and loss, savaging and maintaining relationships / marriage, parenting, reunification, incarceration, that's recidivism and recovery, restorative communication, rehabilitation, youth, friendship. Now, those are some weighty areas. Those are some really heavy areas. And I know your organization, womenswing.org, you're dealing with the children and the women, I guess, where their spouses or husbands or boyfriends or whatever are incarcerated.
All of the above. Most people think that because we are called Women's Wing, we only work with women. We are the wing of a woman. When it said the wing of a dove, the wing of the dove is not just for men or, for women, they are for all. And so we are the women's wing. We are that wing beneath the wing. And so just to make it clear that we are not only for women. And we serve all population. We serve the children of incarcerated parents. We serve the mothers of those incarcerated. We serve everything that has to do with incarceration. We even work with the CSO, with the officers. We work with probational officers. We work with the staff because they too go under stress when it comes to dealing with that population. And sometimes they don't know how to deal with the population.
So in terms of going back to mental illness, because this is the thing, I have found that for many people, they truly and honestly do not understand mental illness and what it can do, what it can cause. Many people think it's just something that, oh no, they're just being, mean, they're just being nasty, not realizing the mind, how it controls in terms of, like, say, for example, even in Alzheimer's and dementia and all that kind of thing. I think where folks really don't understand the depth of the mind. I just heard you say there's somebody that would choose to be homeless. Now, that's not normal. Somebody is going to make the choice to stay out in the street, in the cold, and not be in a shelter, but they're going to stay outside and they're choosing that. Not because, like you said, they lost their home. They're staying out there on the street by choice. Now, that's not normal.
No, it's not. But, my experience since 6 years ago, I go homeless every year. And before, I didn't know that there were some people who just decided, in order not to deal with rent, I would stay out here. In order not to deal with paying bills, I would stay out here. I don't want to deal with all of the hustling and bustling of all of those responsibilities. I would stay out here. And I think it was during my first year when I went homeless intentionally. I go out every year and where all the tents are, or I pick, an area, and I hang out with the homeless people overnight. And it was during my first experience of sleeping on the street. The lady that was next to me, it was she and her husband next to me, in a tent next to me. We were talking, through the night, and that's when I realized. And then I went to the next tent, and I went to the other people. There were some who were there because they had no place to stay, and they were there for a time being. But there were some who said, this has been the best thing that happened to me, and I'm comfortable. And so they move around the city with their tents. And in the morning, they go to McDonald's or different places, wash off, and they go on to work, or they hang on the street. And there are some with severe mental illnesses that just can, go nowhere. They have been from institution to institution, and they just have to be on the street, and they're where they are.
And see, and again, I'm gonna pull back on our Christian. A lot of times you hear folks say about being in their right mind. When you're dealing with mental illness, that's somebody that's not in their right mind.
No. And you see, mental illness is not only that. I was speaking to a client yesterday who called and has been sick for, I think she said about a year and a half, and did not know that she had mental illness. She had been in the house. All of a sudden, she's afraid to come out of the house. if she has to drive, let's say 15 minutes away, to her that distance is so far, and she starts to sweat, and her heart starts to beat, and she didn't understand. She gave her car out gave up her car because she couldn't drive no more. When she gets into the car and starts the car, the minute she knows that she has to go somewhere, if she's in the Uber with someone, the driver, she gets afraid of just being in the Uber. And so she said, well, let me just stay home. Something is going on. Let me just stay home. And so she will go when it is necessary, maybe to doctor's appointment. And so she just called me yesterday for something else, from the organization. And she mentioned that. So I asked her, have you gone, for counseling? She said, no. Would you like some coaching? She said, yes, that's why I'm calling you. I want to get coaching around this. And in that, she realized that she had some mental issues. It has not always been diagnosed with schizophrenia.
Correct.
It's not that. It could be something simple. It could be not sleeping. There are some people that just can't sleep. They will sleep no more than 2 or 3 hours and they are up. They are depressed. Depression is a form of mental illness.
Yes, it is.
Not sleeping at night and just worried all night and you're not eating well, it's a form of mental illness. So when those things start to happen, when you are getting angry for nothing, don't know why you're getting angry, when you feel depressed and feel sorry for yourself and just start to cry, it's a part of mental illness. Seek help early. Because when you don't talk about those things that are happening to you, it grows into something else.
Correct.
It escalates.
That is correct. And the thing is, and I heard you just now connect the brain or the mental to the physical. What's going on inside of your mind impacts what's going on in your body. So if you start having all these different physical ailments, 9 times out of 10 is connected to something that's going on inside of your mind. And I think, like you said, in terms of COVID really kind of blowing the lid off this thing, because now we started having athletes, we started having folks, famous actors and actresses and this and that started coming out saying, yes, I suffer with this, I've suffered with that. We've had normal, ordinary people. And unfortunately, we've even lost a few people, as we had in the case a couple of weeks ago with this young lady that was like 30 years old, beauty queen, on television, a lawyer, jumps from a building 60 stories high.
Yeah, and there's an actress whose son committed suicide.
Correct.
We had a inmate who committed suicide. But one thing I will say here in Washington, D.C., 2 weeks ago, we cut a ribbon for one of the best homeless shelters, I would say, in the whole world. This building was transformed into a shelter for men. And it is state of the art. Wonderful kitchen where they can go and eat and also prepare food. A place where they can learn to, if they want to become a caterer, they have the program. A day room where if you're homeless but you are not in a shelter, you can take your bag and you can go in there. There's a shower that you can walk from the street, go and take a shower. I mean, it is state of the art. A gym, exercise. I mean, it's just wonderful. And this is, it made me feel so good because now we are treating this population with dignity and respect. And I think that's what they need.
And see, one of the reasons I thought when we scheduled your interview that it was perfect for this month is because it is the month of Black History Month, African American History and Black History Month. And it's also, since we have Valentine's Day and the month of love. And what you're doing is about making life better for somebody else.
Yes.
And so
loving our neighbors as we love ourselves.
Absolutely. And that's where, to me, the rubber hits the road in terms of really what we're here for, what our purpose is, making life better for somebody. And again, I am really stressing the mental illness thing because it is a hard sell trying to get people to understand, no, this is not something people are doing intentionally or on purpose or just because they want to be mean or nasty to somebody. These are things that are beyond their control. When you start talking about trauma associated with absence and loss, you have folks that have abandonment issues that, like you said, now this woman prior to what you just described about driving the car, she was fine with driving the car and that came on her.
Yes. And I think it has to do with COVID, her fear of catching COVID. I think that came on. But I want to also believe that there was something going on before COVID.
Correct.
And COVID just triggered.
Right. COVID triggered it. Exactly. I could not agree with you more. Now, since, like I was saying, this is Black History Month, and I know you're in the Washington area, do you find that you're seeing these things in one racial group or ethnic group, one or the over, or is it across the board? There's no respect of person.
Yes. Unfortunately, I will say my answer is yes and no, because mental illness is no respecter of persons, race, creed, religion, none of that. The same with COVID. However, the way that is hindered in one community is different from the way that it is hindered in another.
Good point. Good point. That's an excellent point.
Resources that are put into one community is a different resource that's put in another, while they are all experiencing the same.
That's an excellent point. And still, that means...
let's talk about incarceration.
Yes, please.
In the jail, I have had a client who is a juvenile, a male into, let's say, general population, a female in maybe the drug unit, and then you have one in another unit. And these 4 different areas that I mentioned were families. One was the grandson, the other was the son, one was the father, and the other was the grandmother.
Wow.
And 2 of them didn't know that the other was in jail.
Wow.
So I'm working with this lady, and she's talking about her grandson, and always talk about her grandson. And I'm working with this guy, and he talk about his mother and his family. And then I'm talking to the other one, and I didn't connect it. So one time I'm in the unit with this young man, and we were talking, and so I said, where is your mother? He talked to me about his mother, and then he said, talk about his grandmother and talk about the history of drugs in his family and in his generation. But then coincidentally, I'm sitting, and this lady said, I was passing in the hall, and I saw this young man. He looked just like my grandson, Miss Lloyd. He looked just like my grandson. I hope it's not my grandson in this place. And I asked, what's his name? She told me his name, and it was one of my clients in the youth unit. And then when I connected it all, because they all didn't have the same last name, we had 3 generations in the jail at the moment. Now, what I'm saying, we're talking about mental health. We're talking about a mother who grew up, a woman who grew up and ran to drugs because of what happened to her. She trained her children. They went to buy her drugs, and they too started doing drugs and selling drugs. Her children had their children, and they grew up in that same atmosphere. And they wound up believing that this was a way of life. But she went into it because of something else. And because of mental health, which she didn't know that she had mental health, because of her mindset of who she was, she went into prostitution. She went into drugs.
Wow.
Now, going into prostitution and using your body for that reason selling drugs and using your body is a form of mental health. Don't just incarcerate them.
I could not agree, because see, this is the thing. This is what I found with dealing with mental health. First off, like I said, for someone who's not suffering with it, it's a very hard sell to help them connect what's going on. They honestly think this is something that people can help. And I'm constantly trying to help people understand, no, they can't help it. It's just like any other illness, diabetes, cancer, stroke, heart disease, whatever. It's like any other illness. So no, they cannot help what they're doing. But at the same time, like you said, they have to seek help to get with somebody who can help them. And in many instances, they don't even know. And then when you put on top of it, in the African American community, it's a stigma with mental illness to begin with. But it's really now heightened in the African American community, because we don't want to go to doctors as it is.
Well, African Americans have had mental health from over hundreds of years ago that did not deal with the past and just went on. And as Africans, that's what we do. Or we can just move on. You know, I have a story about a young man from Howard University doing his master's. And I'm in the unit one day, and this inmate brings him to me. I was coaching, and after class, they brought him to me, and he said, "I'm a student from Howard University." And I said, "But what are you doing in here, sir?" He said, "This was my third DUI," and so finally the judge said that he had to put me in jail to learn some lessons. So I said, "Where do you think it comes from?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "My father is a doctor. My mother is a lawyer. You know, my sister is into law school. And I'm from a very educated and high-class family." He said, "But I am the black sheep of my family."
Wow.
And I said, "Why you think that you're the black sheep?" He said, "Because I'm the only one like this. I'm the only alcoholic." And I said to him, "You sure you are the only alcoholic?" He said, "Yes." I said, "But then where alcoholism came from?" He said, "I don't know." I said, "Does your mother drink?" He said, "No." I said, "Does your father drink?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Does he drink every day?" He said, "No, but he drinks every weekend. When he come home on Friday from work, he will drink until Sunday." I said, "But your father is an alcoholic. How long this been going on?" He said, "All my life." I said, "He's a functioning alcoholic. You got this from your father." And that boy dropped in his seat. He said, "Miss Lloyd, I never thought that." I said, "How long?" He said, "Since I've been knowing myself. My mother said he'd been drinking before I was born." And I said, when your mother and your father got together, if your father was drunk, when he went with your mother, that sperm had alcohol in it. It was transmitted to you. From the day you were conceived, you were bound to be an alcoholic. The difference between you and your brothers that can drink and they don't go this far is because you were born with a syndrome and you didn't know. So you need to seek mental health. Today he's fine. He has graduated from Howard University and now working on his doctoral degree.
So in terms of what you just said, let me see how I want to ask this question, because I know there are so many different forms. Can these issues dealing with the mind be cured?
Yes, it can. It can be cured.
Because that's what I mean. A lot of the research says no, it can only be managed. It can't be cured. And it's interesting in terms of what you were just saying, in terms of you use the word functional, because that's another misleading thing as well. Someone could be struggling with something and still appear just as normal. They'll go to work, they'll go to church, they'll go to events, and nobody knows because they appear, but no one knows that on the inside, their insides is torn up.
Yes, and this is the same father that was putting him down, calling him an alcoholic, calling him no good. And this boy sat in jail for over a year.
Oof. He sat in jail.
Of something that he inherited, but no one could help him.
And now he's working on his doctorate at Howard.
Yeah, blessedly we met right when he got into jail, but this was his third incarceration. But this was the first time he was in jail for a long time. He will go in the judge would put him in and take, just for a short time. But this was the first time that he gave him, over a year.
And see, this fascinates me because, again, listening audience, I apologize. I'm going to work it in somewhere during the interview. But when I'm not on radio, my day job, if you will, is I'm a principal of a school. And and it's an all-boys school. It's a single-gender school. It's a leadership school. However, my boys have issues. And now it ranges from grades 3 to 8. But already this year alone, I had 2 fourth graders who threatened suicide. So when folks think that it doesn't impact young children, it usually starts when they're young. And if it's not addressed, it manifests when you're an adult.
Yes, because this young man tells me that from the time he'd been knowing himself, he would go down in the basement, find his father's stash, and drink. So he's been drinking since he was a kid. Before he became 10.
Right. And see, and again, those of you in the listening audience, I really need you to understand what Ms. Lloyd, what Saymendy and I are talking about in terms of it's easy to judge somebody. It's really easy to pass judgment on somebody and you have no idea what's going on inside of them, what experiences they've had, what traumas they've experienced that is driving this. Now, she just gave you an example of a young man who and he didn't even define he or his dad as an alcoholic.
No, his father was not an alcoholic.
Wow. And so I'm sure you come across cases like this all the time as you do your work. And I know you started. Now, when did you start Women's Wing?
In 2003. But we have been doing the work before 2003. Or we actually just made it into an organization before 2003. But we first started off with domestic violence, being advocate for domestic violence and working with women. But then we realized we're working with the women, which is a form of mental health. When you are continuously taking abuse from a man, you have a form of mental health. And then I decided one day, why are we just focusing on the women? If this man is causing this, then he has a problem. We need to work with him too. And so we started working with the men and the women where domestic violence was concerned. And we just started, and different things started to pop up. Incarceration came, and we had to go into the jail to visit the guys once they got incarcerated, and then started working with the women population, and then the youth population. It just became a wonderful thing, and we just spread all over the jail.
And I know one of the things you do, my church does the same thing in terms of working with the children of the incarcerated in the holidays in terms of giving Santa Claus and toys and so forth and so on. And I see that's what you all do as well, and you've been doing that for a number of years. As a matter of fact, one of the years someone stole your toys?
Yes, from the truck.
Now, see, even that in and of itself to me is kind of like, how callous can you be? Or, like we just said, are you dealing with somebody now who don't even know what they did?
I didn't know what they did, but they have a problem. Stealing is a form of mental health. And some people will steal just to be stealing. Some people will lie just to be lying. And people joke about it. He can lie. He's just a liar.
Right.
He lies about everything. Where do you think that comes from? Do you think he just wants to lie?
Right.
He can't help it.
Right.
It's delusional.
Right. Excellent word. Delusional. Yes. Another excellent word. Delusional. In other words, that's what's going on in their minds. It's not reality.
Yes.
But
it
that's
may not be reality.
It's not reality.
It's their reality.
It's their reality. Absolutely. And so when I was reading that, when I was doing my homework and I came across that, I was like, man, here she is. She's collected all these toys that she's donating to kids of folks who are incarcerated. And now somebody comes along and steals the toys.
And not only that, all the decoration. We have that place decorated, top notch, everything. But, it was devastating. But then again, you have to put yourself in a mindset. And what I knew that God was going to show up, and the kids were going to receive, and our goal for that year would be met. So I was not worried
Right.
about that. I was worried about what led to it happening. And so I just prayed for that person who led us to that point.
Now, see, and again, now I'm going to lean back on the Christian, Sheila, of what you just said, because you have folks that, like you just said, now this is somebody that stole from you that you were trying to give to kids, and yet you just turned around and you said you prayed for that person.
Now, before I became a coach and to look at things, when I was a life coach, I looked at things from a different perspective. When I became a neuro-transformational coach, I look at things from a different perspective. Before I had an intimate relationship with God, I looked at things from a different perspective. When I earned that intimate relationship with God, I looked at things from a different perspective. I believe that you see things from a lens from where you are.
Absolutely. And again, listening audience, I hope you've been with me since 6, certainly since Saymendy joined me at 7:30. I hope you've been listening, because this is a critical interview in terms of where we are and folks that you're dealing with that you don't even know who you're dealing with. There's a quote, and they always attribute it to Robin Williams. I don't know if Robin said that or not, but the quote is something along the lines of, folks who are dealing with depression or mental illness or whatever are not faking that they are sick. They are faking that they are well. They're not.
Oh my God.
So
that is so correct.
And that is what we're talking about here. You have folks out there that you think got it going on, when the truth of the matter is they're sick. So they're not faking being sick. They're faking being well. And this is the population that Saymendy deals with as she's in her neuro-transformational coach. Because look at the words in there. Neuro deals with the mind. Transformation means change. So she's coaching folks to be able to change behavior based on what their belief system and what's going on in their mind. Another quote I saw the other day in terms on the Christian side is, when the enemy whispers to you, the enemy usually whispers the opposite of what you are. Mm-hmm. So you may be a beautiful person and the enemy is telling you you're no good. You're not worthy. You're like you were saying earlier, my dad was in prison, so I must be no good. That's what the enemy is telling you, when the truth of the matter is, okay, Dad was in prison, but you're great as well. You can still be great, and we can help Dad be great too. So, did I lose you, or are you still here?
I'm here.
Oh, good. Okay. So, and we got so quiet there for a minute. I thought I lost you. I thought
deep.
We dropped.
It's deep. I'm listening.
It is very deep, because, again, I'm dealing with adults as well as kids who are struggling. And like I said, the struggle really came, like you said, uncovered during this last 2 years. And like, I agree with you. I honestly believe coronavirus, COVID-19, whatever you want. I honestly believe COVID has triggered a lot of what we are hearing and seeing here in terms of mental illness.
COVID has just brought it to the surface. It's always been there.
Right.
So all of these situations we have had been laying dormant. Something had to bring it up.
Well, and again, going back to our community, and I think in this particular issue, I don't even think it's stigmatized by ethnic group. I think just of the nature of it, folks feel like there's a stigma with it. Like, they don't want to be felt as if people see me as I'm crazy.
But, we talk about different population. In my practice, I will find whites admitting to their mental health or diagnosing themselves with mental health quickly. Whereas a black person, you have to tell them and influence them and push them into going to seek the help.
I agree.
That doesn't make one group better than the other. All it is telling me is that one group have been made aware.
Correct. So
the awareness of mental health has been advertised, have been introduced, have been talked about. When these things happen, you do this. Now, you have mothers that wives would start a group immediately. The mothers of distressed children
right.
Group. The mothers of newborn babies group, and they will meet at the park every morning and encourage each other and be there for each other, share numbers, take each other to the doctor. And you have to realize that it's not that blacks don't want to do that, but our situation is sometimes different. When you have to work, a single mother, go to work, pick your children up from school, sometimes drop them home and then go to work at night, or you're a single mother just doing all of those things. You don't have no time to be in this group and that group and the other group.
Correct. That's correct.
But notwithstanding, we find it hard to admit. It is easy to say, okay, yes, I admit I'm a drug addict. But it's hard to admit I'm a drug addict and I have mental illness.
Correct. I could not agree with you more. And again, you have different facets of it. Like you said, there's depression, there's bipolar, there's borderline, there's narcissism. There's so many of them.
How you call that? Yeah.
And each one of them, and sometimes they can have a little bit of all of them.
Yes.
You can have tendencies to have all of them. And again, it drives decision making. You have impulsivity there, like a decision that is made on an impulse, a decision that's made on fear, like you were saying. Now, the woman, the example you gave about now all of a sudden afraid to drive in the car, that's irrational. But that's the kind of irrational type feelings that someone is struggling with. That's what they have.
And that's what she thought it was irrational. It's not mental health. She just something just going on with her, and she doesn't know what's going on. She says, "Saymendy, this is stupid." No, it's not stupid. It's an illness. It's an illness. Like this young man that I saw not too long ago. His mother brought him in, and she doesn't know what's wrong with him. He stays in his room. He doesn't want to take a bath. He doesn't want to brush his teeth. He yells and screams. She sometimes finds him talking to himself and just mad. And in our conversation, she kept on saying before him, I don't know why he's doing this to me. I'm struggling. I'm trying my best with them. Their father left, and I'm doing everything that I can. And, this is what, he's doing to me. She felt that he was doing it to her.
That's correct.
In talking to this boy, and as I listened to the history, it started a week after she and the husband announced to the children that they were going to be divorced.
Correct.
This boy was very attached to his father. And he enjoyed, being in a family.
Correct.
His father then moved to London. And he's here with the mother and his two siblings. It has not been the same since he heard the news that his father and mother were divorcing.
And see,
For him,
right.
The divorce triggered.
Correct.
What was already there.
Correct. And see, you brought up a couple of interesting points. One, and I say it all the time, working in the school system and my personal experiences, we have no idea how what we do as adults impact children.
Yep.
And children don't have the ability or the capability to express how they're feeling, and in some instances adults don't either. But that example you just gave, I know that example intimately.
And sometimes the children blame themselves.
Yes, that's exactly what happens.
And he's the oldest child. Had I not been born, they would not have gotten married.
Right. And see, there's so
many. Because they got married because of me,
right.
I caused them to get married, and now look what happened.
Wow.
That's what he said.
That's the kind of connections they make. And again, that's an irrational connection, but that's the way they make, and it really causes them to go into the darkness. I'm just saying that for simplicity. But there was something else you said, which is what the mother was saying is, I don't understand why he's doing this to me. Every bit of literature and research that I've done in this area says for the person on the receiving end, don't take it personal. And it is extremely hard when you're the target to not take it personal. So I understand what that mother was saying. He's doing this to me, but in reality, he wasn't doing it to her.
Yeah. He couldn't help it.
He couldn't help it. That's what was going on inside of him, but it manifested as if he was doing something to her. That's why she's saying, I can't believe he's doing this to me.
Rebellious.
Right. And I see that. I just had a conversation with a mother yesterday. I was talking about it earlier on the air, how, she got called in because the little boy got fresh with one of the teachers, and she's not raising him that way. And she literally broke down in tears as she's talking to me. And I had to calm her down and say, okay, he's only in 5th grade. Boys do that every now and again. I said, but at the same time, I am happy that it impacted you from the standpoint of feeling like I'm going to help him correct the behavior, because I know that's not how I'm raising him. So, because I get some parents coming there could care less. They don't care that, if anything, they're going to defend the wrong that their child is doing. This mother didn't do that. But the fact that you just described the situation with a breakup or a divorce, yes, that will do that to children. It will send them into some type of an illness and if they don't get any help, it's very hard to pull them out of it.
Yes, and because she raised him well, there are certain things he won't do at home. But when he comes to school, he lets it out.
Wow.
Because mom is not there.
Right. And
so he won't do it before mom.
Right, and see,
love mom.
That's a very good point too. And from the teaching side, whenever we're dealing with students, we always think a child is just being bad. Again, there's always, like you said it in the beginning of the interview, there's a root. Matter of fact, to every last one of these things we've been talking about, there is a root.
There's a root, yes. There is a root to everything.
It is. And the thing is, it's just like a tree. Now, a tree that's on top of the earth, we see the tree part, but we don't see how deep the roots are. Okay. So what we do is we judge the tree. That's what we do. And that's why people are funny about trying to even identify that something is wrong with them, because they don't want to be judged. They don't want people. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah, and on the other hand, sometimes you may realize that there is a root. But let's say, an olive tree or an apple tree or a banana tree. Let's look at a banana tree. It has a root. And you may not think about the root of a banana tree, but you just think about the fruit, that is bearing. But sometimes you just look at the fruit, and you may look at the root, but you don't look at the leaves, and you don't see the benefit of the leaves. There are so many benefits of banana leaves. In some culture, they use it to eat.
Right.
It's a benefit. And why you may just look at that fruit, and you may say, oh, I'm passing by that tree, the fruit is no good. It doesn't bear very good fruit, and the fruit is not sweet. But then, if you study the root, the leaf on that tree, it may be, the fruit may not be tasty, but the root may be of benefit. The leaf may be of benefit.
Absolutely.
Or the bark of that tree may be of benefit.
Right. So, it's I think, and I've been doing a lot of shows this year dealing in this area, particularly because it's a hot topic. And because, I've experienced it to a degree with folks as well that I deal with. And it's interesting when, to try to, again, explain to somebody who either has no experience in it or is on the outside looking in, that thinks a person, and this is what I was just talking about with the teachers. And I share with the teachers all the time, look, little Johnny is not doing that just for the sake of doing that. Like you just said, there's a root. There's something going on that we don't know about that's causing him to do what he's doing in that class. And if we don't know the root, or if we can't figure the root out, and this is what we do, because we automatically go to, well, since he's being bad, he needs to be punished. And that's another quote I saw the other day. Someone's suffering, and I'm saying these quotes stay in my mind. Someone's suffering with this. They don't need to be punished. They need to be helped. And unfortunately,
discipline, I would not downsize discipline. It's good to discipline your children. And get them right.
Correct.
But when it is something that is continuous, then don't look at it from a chastisement or discipline perspective. Now sit down and say, I have punished this child. I have done this, I have done that, I have done the other. And we all, as parents, sometimes had to learn the hard way.
Correct.
Look at all of these things, and if the child continues to do the same thing after you have done all of that, then it's time to look at the mental health part.
Right. And don't
try to seek help.
And trust me when I tell you, in terms of this is another thing I tell people all the time.
Yeah, talk to the school counselor.
Right. There's a difference between discipline and abuse. There is a difference between discipline and abuse. There's a difference between punishment and abuse. Matter of fact, if you look at the words, the definitions of discipline and punishment, those are two different things. And a lot of times we use them interchangeably, but discipline is about teaching. Punishment is about inflicting pain. So there's even a difference there. And I tell people all the time, there's a difference between discipline and abuse, punishment and abuse. And you're right. When it gets to the point wherein you're seeing repeated behavior that is not normal, yes, it is time to seek help. So I just found one that I'm so glad you did ultimately call in this morning, because as I said, I do 2 different formats on Saturday morning. I do the gospel music and I do the interviews. And if the interview doesn't come off, I just do the whole 3 hours of gospel music. But in your case, I am so glad, even though we started late, that we did get started, because this is an important interview for somebody to hear in terms of the goal of the show for me is to inspire, to entertain, and to educate. And it is my hope that we've done all 3, but surely educated in this area of what's going on with folks, particularly now, as you said, that COVID has uncovered something that's always been there.
Wonderful.
Now, before we go, you were telling me about being inducted into the Hall of Fame and talked about some of your books. Talk about what you've written, because you said you're an author, and let's talk about that. And we got about maybe 5 to 10 minutes left. Let's talk about the Hall of Fame and talk about your books.
Well, I'm a co-author on a book called You Are Enough, and with Les Brown and Sharon Wood.
Woo! Wait a minute, Les Brown? You co-authored with Les Brown? All right now. So You Are Enough. That's the name of the book?
Yes.
Okay.
It is just, you can use that as a devotional. It's not, something with scriptures and all of that. Some of the co-authors may have written other issues, but it's something that you can pick up in the morning. It's 365 pages. You can, it's 100 and something pages. You can take a page and read, and be inspired. It's there to inspire you, to lift you up. And just what the name of the book is called, You Are Enough.
Now, is that available in Kindle version?
Kindle is on Amazon.
Oh, well, I tell you what, before the day is out, I will have downloaded that.
Yes. And in regards to, I wanted to talk about love a little bit, and I just want to encourage the listening audience, and probably this is another show, that we're approaching Valentine's Day next week. And I know that during this time, especially on Valentine's Day, and I don't mean to get people upset, but that's when I have a lot of issues with some of my clients coming in, because the wife will say, I waited for my husband. He came in and, celebrated with me, and he ran out. I suspect that he's cheating on me. And so one of the things I would like for people to look at when we talk about mental health, infidelity is a form of mental health.
Correct.
And so when you have this going on this Valentine's Day, I'm not saying condone your husband's behavior or your boyfriend's behavior, but also try to help him get the help that he needs. Because this could be a generational thing too. If this man grew up seeing his father cheating on his mother, and then maybe his grandfather cheated on his grandmother, he grew up feeling, and the men around him, his uncles and the men that he looked up to, cheated. He feels that that's something a man is supposed to do.
Correct.
And so it's not that he wants to cheat. He can't help it.
Correct.
And I said that to one of my clients, and she stood up, and maybe she wanted to slap my face. But look at it. Look at it.
Right.
By looking in this man's pocket and searching to see who he's dating, stop calling these women and attacking them because your man is with them. Stop. Attack him.
Correct.
That woman has no loyalty to you at all. She did not make any vow to you. Your husband did. And when she saw him and he approached or she approached him, however it went, she saw something that she liked and she went after what she liked. I'm not saying it is right, but don't attack. Stop doing that, women. Stop attacking the women. Stop looking in your husband's wallet. Stop looking in his phone. Stop that, because something is wrong with you mentally.
Correct.
To be searching behind a man is a level of low self-esteem.
Correct.
It's a form of mental health. When you're going to stop doing what you're doing and just searching behind your man, looking in his phone, checking the car, or man checking, her purse and smelling her clothes when she comes out, checking the mileage on the car. That's mental illness.
Correct. It really is.
It's a form of mental illness when you are over jealous.
Correct.
Seek help.
Yes.
Get therapy.
Now,
I'm serious.
I am, and I'm so glad you went there. Matter of fact, we're gonna talk on for now. I got a half hour left. I got till 9 o'clock. If we need to keep going, 9 o'clock I got to get off because another DJ takes over. But if we started at 7:30, I'm gonna definitely have you back because now we getting there now for sure. And you're absolutely right. And I'm glad you went there because there are so many facets of why folks do what they can and cannot help, the way they act based on how they were raised, like you just gave the example of the cheating. All right. In some instances, folks just think, okay, he just being a dog. But in other instances, is exactly what you just described. Great grandpa was that way. Grandpa was that way. Dad was that way. And that's all I've known and seen too. I wasn't taught any other kind of way.
Yeah, and with the females, the same thing. She saw her mother being abused.
Right.
Saw women in her community being abused. And she feels that, I have to take it, or I don't want my friends to think I can't keep a man. So you stay in a relationship, and then most of the time they will say, I stay because of my children. There are so many women who walked out of relationship and their children are fine.
Correct.
You have actresses and lawyers and doctors who would tell you, Barack Obama was raised by a single mother.
Correct.
So why you think you have to stay in a relationship and take the abuse? It's because of a form of mental health, insecurity, low self-esteem, that another man, I got this one, let me hold on. There's a lady that told me, I prefer to stay with the devil I know than an angel I don't know.
Wow. The devil I know compared with the angel I don't know. Not even another devil compared with the angel. Like, in other words, you could get something better, but I'm good here.
Yes.
Wow.
But she will stay with the devil because she doesn't know the angel.
Wow.
So that means I don't have the ability of finding an angel. I can find a man that would take better care of me. I don't know if I will find, and because I don't know, I will stay with him.
Okay, and if you've just joined me, my guest is Saymendy Lloyd, and we were talking about we're still talking about it, but we kind of shifted in terms of relationships and Valentine's Day, since this is, Valentine's Day weekend in the month of love. And she's giving some very cogent and wisdomatic, if that is a word, advice in terms of, again, dealing with folks. And she's absolutely right. And the book is You Are Enough, and your name and Les Brown's name on it, or whose name is on it. Whenever I look for it in Amazon, if I put You Are Enough, that'll come up.
Yes, You Are Enough.
Okay, so I will have that downloaded before the end of the day. I love devotionals and dailies like what you just described. So I have like a plethora of them. I mean, I have like a list that I go through every day of reading affirmations.
And it's a form of meditation, too. You can use it in a form of meditation. And I didn't mean to ignore your question when it came to about me. I don't talk about me too much because I'm a servant leader. I'd always talk about what it is to help my people.
I know that's right.
I know that God has brought me from such a mighty long way, and I'm just grateful for the path that He has led me, as stated in my bio. But you asked me about the Hall of Fame. In 2018, I was inducted into the Washington, D.C. Hall of Fame, which I am grateful, and I continue to be grateful for those who nominated me and those who selected me into the Hall of Fame.
Congratulations and God bless the Washington, D.C. Hall of Fame. That's all right.
Thank you.
Congratulations. God bless.
Thank you. And so we were supposed to be also put into I think we already are into the D.C. Historic Society. And then the Wall of Fame or the Street of Fame in D.C. has not been completed yet because of COVID. Our names are there, but they have not announced the ceremony for us to unveil the part on the street where our names are on the street, like in Hollywood. But it's not that I was shying away from talking about that. But I am grateful. It's not that I don't want to talk about it.
Correct.
But when it comes to talking about what can help my people, and I'm not just talking about Black people, all people.
All people, correct.
Yes. When I can help people, I believe Martin Luther King said, if I can help somebody as I travel along the way, and that's how I feel. If
Correct.
I can feed the hungry and clothe the naked, if I can give myself, then my living shall not be in vain. And
I know that's right. And it's the same here. I already told him at my funeral, that's the song I want sung. I already told him at my funeral, that's in my will. I believe I have it in there. If not, I'll make sure I'll update it, that I want that song sung at my funeral, if we're doing, because right now in COVID, we're not even doing regular funerals. But
yes, because our life on earth, when you sit down, most people say, I want to leave a house for my children.
Right.
I want to make sure my children don't suffer when I am gone. What kind of suffering you talking about? You're talking about material things. You want them to make sure that they have a house, they have a car, they have enough money that they will not suffer. My position is, when I leave this earth, I want to make sure that my children are mentally equipped to make a difference in the society in which God brought them to. It is not about leaving them material gains. It's about leaving them a legacy that they too. Martin Luther King did not leave riches for his children, believe it or not. He did not. Dick Gregory did not leave riches for his children.
That's correct.
He left them with a suitable mind that they too can take on and make a difference in the society, in the community, and regardless of where they go around the world, to leave a mark.
That is
correct.
That's
my purpose.
I know that's right. So I'll tell you what, Women's Wing. Now, can you donate to that? Can folks donate to the organization?
Oh, definitely. It's a nonprofit organization.
How would
501c3. So, it is womenswing.org. You can go to our website. It's womenswing.org. And for those who would like to get in touch with me, my phone started to ring, and I get extremely busy around Valentine's Day because of relationships. But the number is 202-827-5117. Again, the number is 202-827-5117, and you can text that number as well.
Well, you know, that's the way I normally end the interviews, with giving you the opportunity to promote. So I'm going to give you that's where we are in the interview. I'm going to shut the mic off and give you an opportunity to promote the book. The only thing you can't mention is a dollar amount, but the websites, like you just did, if you want to shout out anybody. Matter of fact, I just went to the website, so it's most likely I will download the book, and I will probably do a donation to the organization because it's a worthy cause.
The book is not on
that's not on the website. That's two different things.
I will put it there, but it's not on the webpage. I really didn't think about putting it on the webpage, but thank you for giving me that thought.
There we go.
Yes, it is on. You can go on Amazon. In fact, it was Amazon bestseller. Actually, it's a bestseller.
And the title again is "You Are Enough."
Yes.
Okay. Like I said, before the day is out, I will have downloaded that. I'm on your website right now. It is, folks in the listening audience, it's all one word, WOMENSWING.org, womenswing.org. If you'd like to donate to it, feel free. Again, they help the mothers and fathers that are incarcerated, to help the kids out and the whole programs. And like Saymendy just said, in terms of mental health. So again, I encourage you to go to the website, womenswing.org. The book is I Am Enough, and that's on Amazon.
So you are enough.
You are enough. I'm sorry. You are enough. You are enough. And Saymendy, with that being said, I am so glad you clicked in at 7:30, that you dialed in at 7:30. This interview was meant to happen. God does things for a reason, and I am thrilled that even though we normally start at 7, you joined me at 7:30, and the interview was just as powerful. So rather than running it from 7 to 8, I ran it from 7:30 to 8:30. It's not a big deal. But I definitely want to have you back because we need to talk. We're going to continue. There are some guests that I do part 1, part 2, and part 3 on. So you're going to be one of those that I'm going to definitely have back so we can continue the discussion. But I thank you so much for what you do, because you just pretty much summed it up with this whole notion of leaving a legacy and making life better for somebody else, because that's what we're here for. We're not here for just me, myself, and I. We're not here to be selfish. We're here to bless somebody else. And then by doing so, we become blessed just from doing that.
Yes.
All right.
And I want to thank you as well for allowing me, into your space and just to be who I am.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank God for the opportunity.
Well, again, it's been a wonderful, enlightening conversation. I hope those who are listening learn something, because these are some strange times. And with the times being as strange as you said, there's some good that comes out of it as well. And if more people seek professional help or begin to be healed and delivered, and then you know what, then it will be worth it, because there are a lot of folks that's keeping a lot of stuff undercover that's doing a lot of damage.
And just before I leave, talking about Black history, just briefly, we formed a group where there's African and African Americans coming together for the first time.
All right now.
And we dialogue about our past, what separated us, and how we can come back together. So we learn about the African American journey. We learn about the African journey, why they are the way they are, why African Americans are the way they are. And we come together as a people. And we meet on Thursday. We always have someone, a lecturer or professional, come to talk about something about the history of our journey. And it has been wonderful. People always say, well, we'd never been in a group with Africans and African Americans and united. But we meet every Thursday, and we have a Zoom. If you call that number, the 202-827-5117, we are all professional Blacks, professional Africans coming together. If you would like to be a part of that dialogue, you can call the number 202-827-5117. And hopefully we can come on your show to talk about that one day.
Oh, we will definitely schedule that.
My girlfriend Ayo.
Yes.
I want to thank my good friend Ayo, who has been a sister and a friend. And I tell you, I don't often call people my friend. It's a definition that, I'm very careful to just expose. But there are some people that I can say are my sisters. And Ayo is one person that I can claim and proclaim. She is a friend and a sister, and I just want to give a shout-out to her. I want to give a shout-out to my father, who is not doing well, and just to proclaim here also that I just love both of my parents with all my heart. Thank you so much.
I know that's right. What's the number again for the African meet?
It is 202 827 5117, and we have a WhatsApp group.
What's the WhatsApp? It's on that number?
Yes, it's on that number.
So that's the WhatsApp.
But I think you would have to call if you want to be a part. We have to put you in. We don't just open it to, you want to be a part of that group, just call.
I'll send you a text. I'll text you or either IO, and I agree with you in terms of IO. I've known IO over 20 years now, and I can say the same as you said. It's exactly like that. So I thank you so much for joining. We will definitely come back to talk about whatever else that we didn't talk about this morning. We will continue the discussion.
Sir.
But
and thank you.
All right. Have a wonderfully blessed day, rest of the weekend and week, and I will definitely be in touch with you.
And happy Valentine's.
Thank you. Same to you.
All right.
Take care now.